Huge show today. The Epstein war rages on, and then it concludes. Let's dive in. And welcome to the Gateway Pundit's DC Dive. Big news today. Big. Colin Lineberger reported at the Gateway Pundit, quote, Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene takes an apparent disgusting shot at President Trump while speaking at a press conference with Epstein victims. Representatives Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massey, and Ro Khanna held a press conference today with the Epstein victims as they voted for legislation to compel the Justice Department to release Epstein files. Marjorie Taylor Greene has specifically been questioning Israel's involvement in the Epstein ring and whether or not they've been pressing President Trump to cover up the Epstein files. During a presser today, she appeared to imply that he's a traitor in response to him calling her a traitor. Watch.
That's what we did by fighting so hard against the most powerful people in the world, even the President of the United States, in order to make this vote happen today. I was called a traitor by a man that I fought for 6 years for. And I gave him my loyalty for free. I won my first election without his endorsement, beating 8 men in a primary. And I've never owed him anything, but I fought for him for the policies and for America first. And he called me a traitor for standing with these women and refusing to take my name off the discharge petition. Let me tell you what a traitor is. A traitor is an American that serves foreign countries and themselves. A patriot is an American that serves the United States of America and Americans like the women standing behind me. And I want to tell you that this only became possible today because the American people, whom we serve as representatives here in Congress, demanded that this vote happen, and they put more pressure on every single elected politician in this city than has ever been put on them. And today you are going to see probably a unanimous vote in the House to release the Epstein files, but the real fight will happen after that.
Now, she didn't explicitly call him a traitor. She actually defined traitor, someone who sells out to a foreign country or is not loyal to their country. It might not have been the best thing to say. I do, however, think that Marjorie Taylor Greene is a patriot. I think President Trump is a patriot. I hope he's not actually covering the Epstein files at the behest of Israel or other foreign governments who might be involved. Namely, Israel is who Marjorie Taylor Greene has implicated in this. Obviously, Jeffrey Epstein has had ties to the former prime minister of Israel. We really don't know what has gone on with the Epstein files because we don't have the files. I mean, the quickest way to dispel any of the myths, any of the hoaxes, as President Trump says, I mean, obviously, putting it on President Trump, saying that he was involved, criminally with Jeffrey Epstein is likely a hoax. It's probably more likely Bill Clinton who was involved with Epstein, but we'll see what happens. Coming up next, spoiler alert, the bill actually passed the House and the Senate. But first, a message from our sponsor. In our last spotlight, we introduced District Copper trading under CAXPF in the US and DCOP in Canada as a rising force in North America's critical mineral sector. District Copper is gaining traction in North America's critical mineral sector. The company has announced a strategic partnership with Reacher Gold LLC, a Nevada-based exploration firm focused on copper, gold, and silver. This marks District Copper's entry into the U.S. metals market, leveraging high potential assets with historical production and existing infrastructure. The move aligns with the U.S. government's push to secure domestic critical mineral sources including copper, rare earths, and lithium, to bolster national security and supply chain resilience. Washington has recently invested in Canadian mining firms like Trilogy Metals, which saw its stock surge over 200% after a $35.6 million U.S. government investment for a 10% equity stake. District Copper's binational strategy, combining its Canadian copper keg project with new U.S. assets, positions it uniquely in this geopolitical landscape. Partnering with Reacher Gold, known for sourcing undervalued U.S. assets, aims to fast track development and unlock near term production. With progress at Copperkeg, a U.S. listing, and the strategic partnership, District Copper, listed on the U.S. Stock Exchange under CAXPF and the Toronto Stock Exchange under DCOP, could be the next big name for investors. The stock shows significant upside potential. Don't overlook it. Special thanks to District Copper for sponsoring today's video. Check the link in the description or go to districtcoppercorp.com for more on their U.S. partnership and future prospects. And for our next story from the Gateway Pundit, breaking: the Senate passes the Epstein Files Transparency Act by unanimous consent. The bill now heads to President Trump's desk. Chuck Schumer called for the unanimous consent vote, and it passed. I mean, he thinks this is going to help the Democrats. I don't know about that. Watch.
The Senate act today. And so, I ask unanimous consent that when the Senate receives H.R. 4405, the Epstein Files Transparency Act from the House, the Senate proceed to its immediate consideration, the bill be considered, read 3 times, and passed with no intervening action or debate, and the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Is there an objection? Without objection, so ordered.
The Senate has now passed the Epstein bill as soon as it comes over from the House. I yield the floor.
So obviously this comes as President Trump has had a bit of a reversal. He still refers to it as a hoax, but he called on Congress, both the House and the Senate, to just pass the bill, get it out of the way, stop distracting from his administration's achievements. I think this is going to backfire on the Democrats. President Trump has spoken about how Bill Clinton is in the files. Larry Summers of Harvard, a former Clinton White House and Obama White House official, he's in the files. Even other big Democratic donors like Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn, they're in the files. So it's going to be interesting. It passed the House earlier before this by almost a unanimous vote. Only one Republican defected. And he said it was about privacy concerns for other victims that weren't at the press conference on Tuesday. So, we don't know too much about what's in the files, of course. The only people that know what's in the files is people like Jeffrey Epstein, he's dead, and people who were involved with Jeffrey Epstein, who are probably afraid for this to come out. That's why I think President Trump calling for, F it, release it, I don't care. I think he just wants to get this over with. He knows that he is not criminally implicated. Thomas Massie actually told reporters today that he doesn't believe the president would be criminally implicated in any wrongdoing. He thinks there might be other powerful individuals. Maybe he is just trying to, kind of forget about this and let it go. But again, I don't think Trump is implicated at all. I mean, besides what he knew Jeffrey Epstein, he kicked him out of his club because he was such a creep and a perv. That's actually something Trump said earlier today. And on that subject, this next story is pretty funny. I was thrilled to report for the Gateway Pundit. Quote, Trump slams ABC News reporter, shouting nasty question at him and the Saudi crown prince. He later goes off on her, calls for ABC license revocation and Reid Hoffman investigation after Epstein question. He said, quote, you're a terrible person and a terrible reporter. Now, Trump went off on this woman, ABC's Mary Bruce, after she attacked him and the crown prince of Saudi Arabia. But later, for nearly 3 straight minutes, Trump absolutely laid into her again because of her Epstein question. She asked it pretty nasty. She asked the previous question pretty nasty. He even called for ABC to lose their license over their biased reporting, saying something along the lines of, you attack me, 98% of your coverage is negative of me, and then I lose the election. It means you're not credible. Watch.
Mr. President, why wait for Congress to release the Epps files? Why not just do it now?
You know, it's not the question that I mind, it's your attitude. I think you are a terrible reporter. It's the way you ask these questions. You start off with a man who's highly respected, asking him a horrible, insubordinate, and just a terrible question. And you could even ask that same exact question nicely. You're all psyched up. Somebody psychs you over at ABC. They're going to psych. You're a terrible person and a terrible reporter. As far as the Epstein files is, I have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. I threw him out of my club many years ago because I thought he was a sick pervert. But I guess I turned out to be right. But you know who does have? Bill Clinton, Larry Summers, who ran Harvard, was with him every single night, every single weekend. They lived together. They went to his island many times. I never did. Andrew Weissman, I hear. All these guys were friends of his. You don't even talk about those people. You just keep going on the Epstein files. And what the Epstein is a Democrat hoax to try and get me not to be able to talk about the $21 trillion that I talked about today. It's a hoax. Now, I just got a little report, and I put it in my pocket, of all the money that he's given to Democrats. He gave me none, zero, no money to me. But he gave money to Democrats. And people are wise to your hoax. And ABC's, your company, your crappy company, is one of the perpetrators. And I'll tell you something. I think the license should be taken away from ABC because your news is so fake and it's so wrong. And we have a great commissioner, the chairman, who should look at that, because I think when you come in and when you're 97% negative to Trump and then Trump wins the election in a landslide, that means obviously your news is not credible and you're not credible as a reporter. So I've answered your question. You should go and look at the Democrats who received money from Epstein, who spent their time. Larry Summers was with him all the time. That creep of the fund guy was with him all the time. What's his name? Reid Hoffman. I don't know Reid Hoffman, but I know he spends a lot of money on the radical left. Reid Hoffman, in my opinion, should be under investigation. He's a sleazebag. And those are the people, but they don't get any press, they don't get any news, and you're not after the radical left because you're a radical left network. But I think the way you ask a question with the anger and the meanness is terrible. You ought to go back and learn how to be a reporter. No more questions from you. Who else has?
Now, look, obviously the president of the United States, he doesn't seem too concerned about maybe mentions of his name or whatever. Obviously, again, he knew Jeffrey Epstein. Obviously, like he said, he kicked him out of his club because he was a creep and a perv. It makes me wonder what is the motive of people like Chuck Schumer and Democrats in the House of Representatives that they're like, oh, we need to get this out. I mean, it's probably going to end up pretty bad for them. Coming up next, no more Epstein. We're done with that. It's going to be pretty exciting to see what's in the files, but Ted Cruz in 2028? First, a message from our sponsor. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm thrilled to announce my enthusiastic endorsement of Blackout Coffee, a company that embodies the heart of American values. This family-owned business began 7 years ago in a humble garage, and today they've earned over 32,000 five-star reviews for their premium bold coffee. Blackout Coffee isn't just about exceptional taste. They're staunch supporters of our Second Amendment, standing firm for our freedoms. Allow me to share my personal take. I've sampled their coffee. It's outstanding. It's rich, it's smooth, and it's crafted by good people who share a commitment to what makes this nation great. It's my go-to brew to fuel the day. If you're ready to support a company that delivers quality and principle, visit blackoutcoffee.com/rift and use code RIFT for 20% off your first order. That's blackoutcoffee.com/rift. Join me in choosing coffee that actually stands for something. And we're back. So we reported at the Gateway Pundit that Ted Cruz is laying the groundwork for a presidential run in 2028. President Trump actually responded to his ambitions on Monday. I think the president is kind of playing a strategic game right now. He's not taking steps to endorse a candidate. He's trying to keep his allies close to him. People like Ted Cruz, who is unfortunately, in my opinion, still an ally. But he still did give a soft kind of troll of Ted Cruz in the 2016 election. He's also probably too busy to know that lying Ted Cruz attacked him and his vice president. But watch.
Some news this morning from an Axios report that Senator Ted Cruz was laying the groundwork for a potential 2028 presidential run. Could I get your reaction to, could you see yourself supporting Senator
Well, he's a friend of mine. I mean, I haven't spoken to him about it. It's a little early. It's 3.25 years. That's a long time. But he's a very good guy. He's a very good friend of mine. You remember we had quite a campaign against Ted? And it worked out quite nicely. We'll see, where are we? Oh, we're in the old one. But I'm not that surprised to hear that.
Pretty basic. I mean, he didn't come out and attack him. He didn't. I'm not sure why he's not endorsing JD Vance. He seems like the successor, being the vice president of the United States. Before we get into what Ted Cruz actually said about President Trump and JD Vance, I want to read some comments on this story. I thought they were pretty funny, and it shows where MAGA is at. It shows where the Gateway Pundit readers, who are OG MAGA, not the fake MAGA, not the Never Trumpers, not the neocons who are now rushing to MAGA because they know it's popular. Keith, 63, he writes, Cruz is my senator, and I didn't vote for him. But I don't want him, or I did vote for him, but I don't want him running for president. I wouldn't vote for him again as senator. He's not nearly as bad as Cornyn, though. I would never vote for him. Another person, BT, writes, Ted Cruz has eternal loyalty to AIPAC, which doesn't have loyalty to America in mind, or indeed. Cruz will criticize those who question AIPAC as being anti-American, but won't mention that the group is pro some other country. Someone else called just retired. Give it up, Cruz. You will not make it. And then Smokin' BBQ writes, I'm not sure why exactly, but Ted Cruz seems like the slimiest greaseball of a used car salesman to me. I've listened to him talk more than anyone should have. I don't like him. Now, Ted Cruz actually attacked President Trump and Vice President JD Vance, as I mentioned. He said, quote, when voices in our own movement push dangerous and misguided ideas, we can't look the other way. He was crying in a statement to Axios about President Trump and JD Vance. He further added, I won't hesitate to call out those who peddle destructive, vile rhetoric and threaten our principles and our future. Silence in the face of recklessness is not an option. I mean, that sounds like something a leftist would say about a conservative, in my opinion, to be honest. Obviously, we spoke about this yesterday. President Trump backed Tucker Carlson's right to interview people amid a split in his base with the neocons, rhinos, and former Never Trumpers who are currently decrying Tucker Carlson for just doing an interview with Nick Fuentes. He's a very popular right-wing podcast host. I think he has over 1 million followers on Twitter. I mean, these people are kind of out of touch when they can't connect with their base. Tucker's son, Buckley Carlson, he's a nice guy. I've met him. I've had coffee with him, spoken to him. He actually works in the vice president's office. And JD Vance actually defended Buckley Carlson on Monday when a leftist journalist attacked him, his father, and JD Vance for letting him work in his office. It's guilty by association. So now Ted Cruz is really trying to exploit this rift in the movement to his benefit. The question is, like, why is Trump still friendly to him, but not to Marjorie Taylor Greene? Obviously, Marjorie has been a little more frontal on her attacks, opposing things like H-1B visas, Chinese student visas for 600,000 Chinese students. I mean, they've started to clash a little bit. Marjorie is America only and America first. It doesn't seem like President Trump is America only. And coming up next from the Rift TV's Elisa Powell, the video of a hijab-wearing NYPD officer that everyone's talking about. Just watch this.
So I'm going to give a little example. You want to know how to do it? So Ideally, there's different ways, by the way. You can fit it how you want to, but you can make one side short, one side long, right? And then you put it over and over around your base. And some days you get creative. You can put a pin. I freestyle everything I do, as you can see. And then I just tuck it in right here. And you wrap it around to your quarters. Make sure your bosom is covered. There's different ways, but this is the most simple way that you can wear it.
What the hell is going on? I mean, this looks like it's at a NYPD outreach event. Maybe they're trying to bring in new employees. But what is this? It was a long time ago when Ellis Island was the hub for Europeans coming to America. Now, Manhattan is a melting pot of just people from around the world who refuse to assimilate to our culture. Now they have hijab-wearing New York Police Department officers. And, I don't know what's going on in our country, but it really needs to stop. And that's going to be it for our top 5 stories of the day. Join us tomorrow. We're going to have some exciting news coming up. Thanks.